All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 41st episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W. here.
And we're back. We got Gary coming up north this weekend, which I'm very excited / scared for.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I just to plug a couple places. Shep Saturday night, our every Sunday spot, and now every Saturday spot, which Doug holds down every Saturday. If you guys have popped in there, I've heard nothing but good things.
Doug Spin owns that place.
He does. He really does. So I'm nervous about walking in there and fucking it up for him, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, that was my spot every Sunday for a while. So
so this year, me and Doug took over Sundays, and he would play, and he'd be like, "Man, Doug, you should just keep playing, man."
Right. You know, and Joe, the owner, big shout to him. He's been very supportive of Get Down DJ Group and things that we've done in his establishment. He's got a great staff in there. Shout out to Joe, the bartender, and we'll be in there. See them on Saturday. And then on Sunday, this is when everybody's life insurance policy needs to be taken out because it's Slav's birthday. And for those of you who don't know Slav via the DJ circuit in Belmar, New Jersey, we've been known to get aggressive with him here and there. So it's his birthday. It's me, you, and Angelo the kid on the ticket that day. So Angelo's doing early. Well, there is a time frame set out, but who knows how and when people are going to play. I think it's just going to we're just going to kind of fly by the seat of our pants, I think. What do you think? I mean, I know Angelo's going to start off, but like if we pop, we're going to be there earlier.
I don't know. I think it all depends on how the day is going and what's going on. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of DJs in the building, a lot of Get Down DJs and others.
Right.
I've been working with Slav on parties since I started DJing, and we've done a lot of big parties together. We've done a lot of Sunday fun day type stuff together. So I'm expecting this to be a pretty jam-packed day.
Yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of people coming out, and we know a bunch of our DJs are coming out, and friends of theirs, and girlfriends, etc. And it's going to be a fun time. But yeah, I'm also nervous about that, and I'm probably pushing my flight a couple hours, and I think that's probably a smart move for myself because I'm not getting on a flight at 10 a.m. It's probably not happening.
Listen, free changing fees, you might as well. Or no changing fees.
It's been a blessing, and it's going to be a blessing for this weekend for sure. So that's coming up. Looking forward to it. But I think that I'm coming back into a reality in which I don't live here. The fact that people still have to sit down at a venue blows my mind. I haven't been I've never been in a place like that unless I was up there.
Yeah.
The fact that you can't sit at a bar still is crazy to me. Like I've definitely sat at a few bars here, and I don't know. I'm just mentally, I need to kind of adjust and remember that it's not going to be party rock like it was in South Carolina when we were there, and it's going to be different, and just be kind of prepared for it. But ready to rock the room just like we've been talking about on past episodes, you know. But we've had big news over the last week in the music industry, and something that I haven't missed out on in probably 20 years that I missed out on last week was the death of a major artist and not being able to play that night or that coming weekend. Like I remember playing, Prince, Michael Jackson, David Bowie. Like I was playing on the weekends that all those guys passed away, and they were big music weekends where like you got big reactions to their songs. And I found myself on Friday, especially when it happens on the day that you're playing. I think Michael Jackson might've been a Friday. I could be wrong about that, but when it happens on the day that you're playing, it really hits completely like different than if it's like 4 or 5 days later. And I really found myself on Friday missing DJing that night because I know how I would like to get creative and like dig in those artists' crates and like really find unique stuff, but then also play and then follow it by like a banger. And this way, like I always use that as an educational experience where, okay, this might be for example, a DMX track that you didn't know, and now I'm going to hit you a party up. You know what I mean? And I feel like for like younger people, that's how I learned a lot of stuff, going to see DJs that were older than me and them educating me on certain music. And I always took those opportunities to do so. Um, and when I look back at DMX, he was the biggest artist, period, in like 99, in my opinion. Like we were coming off of about 2 years prior, Biggie died, and 3 years prior to that, Tupac died, and like he was the next thing. Yeah, like, and then remember Puffy had his thing going on in like 97, and
Yeah.
like he blew up, and like how do they call it? Like glam, like it was like glam hip hop, like they're champagne and all
Shiny
this shit.
suits.
Shiny suits and all this, and then DMX kind of brought it back to it getting a little gutter, and then but also introducing I forget, I gotta look to see what it's called. I think like horror hip hop or something. There were like there were some tracks that I knew about, but like he brought this genre of hip hop to the forefront, but then also like really reconnected with the like inner city community again. I was going to St. Anthony's at the time when It's Dark and Hell's Hot came out, and it was just like it was like a mind-blowing record.
St. Anthony's, downtown Jersey City,
Right.
super urban city like
Right.
environment back then.
Well,
Especially.
I was one of 4 white kids in the school, so
Yeah.
to give you I was into the album, but like it was like hitting there like big time, like it was all anybody listened to constantly, and he was the biggest artist out. And I think that like after Biggie and Tupac died, you kind of had where Puffy kind of went cross genre, if you will, like
more
kind of
pop, more pop.
Right. And DMX brought it like back to the hood, if you will. You know what I mean? So in retrospect, I had never really thought about him being the next one up after Tupac and Biggie, but like I think in like superstardom, he probably was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Jay-Z was in between too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I was trying to remember this of like who else was really big at the time when like It's Dark and Hell is Hot came out, and when like the Ruff Ryders album came out, and some of those other records that I remember playing like nonstop for a while. And Jay-Z was the one name that came to mind that kind of was always big and just kept staying big.
But if you remember Reasonable Doubt when it came out, right? It wasn't like an anticipated record. If I can, maybe it was, because I'm going to really date myself here, and then also have a real throwback. Me and my buddy rode our bikes down to the Wiz, of all places. Remember, nobody beats the Wiz.
Yeah.
All you Yankee fans remember a lot of Paul O'Neill home runs over the Wiz sign in right field, and we rode our bikes down there and got that Jay-Z album. So maybe it was anticipated, but I don't feel like it was as like
it was
big.
earlier. It was earlier though. Like Reasonable Doubt was 96. I'm just looking at years stuff was released. So like Jay-Z in 99, 2000 was like Volume 3, Life and Times of S. Carter, The Dynasty, which is one of my favorite slept on albums.
When It's Dark and Hell's Hot came out, Volume 2 came out.
Okay.
In My Lifetime, I believe it was called, right? Volume 2.
Hard Knock Life, In My Lifetime, Volume 1.
In My Lifetime, Volume 1. That came out, and I think that was like a little bit of a miss, and that's where DMX really broke through.
Listen, like you're the history guy. I don't know anything about years and when stuff comes out. Like I just know from a music perspective that DMX was, if not the biggest artist at the time, he was one of the top 3, let's say. And
for sure,
It's Dark and Hell is Hot is one of those albums that you kind of played out. It was one of those CDs that you might have had to burn or download and burn because you played through and you scratched up the original CD type thing.
Yeah.
But it got us thinking about like, you talked about like the tribute sets, and I definitely kind of tried to dig for some records that maybe most people wouldn't know, especially of this era.
Okay.
And it was fun to be able to sandwich songs that people might not have known with, like you said, like one of the bigger records, Party Up or whatever else you're gonna play for a main peak set. But it also brings up the question of like, I actually posted this on social media on last weekend, was like, is It's Dark and Hot and Hell is Hot in your top 10 albums? And like, I had to really think about it, and I said it wasn't, because there's just so many other albums that I personally like more. But is it even in that realm? Like, what do you think?
Well, my knee-jerk reaction, just like all of our knee-jerk reaction when somebody passes away or, you know, something major happens, is to say, yeah, absolutely. It absolutely was. And then I was out on the golf course the other day with my buddies, and we were like, oh, let's throw on It's Dark and Hell's Hot and give it a full run through. And we got to like, maybe How's It Going Down? Actually, probably after the Mickey skit. So that was like track 11. We were like, okay, that's enough. Like, we've had enough, and we moved on.
Yeah.
So whether it didn't age well, or whatever, maybe the sound was maybe a little too repetitious, and there wasn't enough variation. Though How's It Going Down is completely different than the rest of the album, so kind of funny I said that. It just, I don't know. It's not one of those top to bottom albums like a Ready to Die, like a Life After Death. There's not a, you know, prior to recording this, we talked about a bunch of albums, and there aren't a ton offhand that I can think of that are mass appeal, no pun intended, Gangstar, and like mass appeal front to back, great albums. There's not a lot. It's very, very difficult to attain, you know, as an artist.
Yeah, and I think also like the top 10 best albums is different from what's your top 10 favorite albums kind of thing. You know, like the 10 albums that I listen to is probably gonna be way different than the top 10 albums of all time, because I like to dig a little bit, and there's just stuff that I like better than other people, you know?
Right. But the broad range, like
There's some easy ones, right? Like Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, the Biggie albums, Wu-Tang, Enter the 36 Chambers. Like, those are easy for me.
Those are easy. I think those are easy across the board. That'll be popular opinion. And then you get into argument, like barbershop argument, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, like it's whatever your kind of flavor is, you know, whatever your style is. Because listen, we've all been in the barbershop, and we've all heard these the stupid arguments, you know, back and forth. And really what it comes down to is it's whatever your personal preference is. But there are probably, if we really sat down, there's probably 5 to 10 front to back, 1 through 15 or track 16 skits involved. Because like, listen, if it's gonna make the album, you gotta count it.
Right. I always hated when there was like 8 skits. Like, there'd be like one funny one or good one.
I'm looking at this and I'm just like, skit. Like this was in the middle of like the skit era, where you would get like 3 or 4 or 5 on an album.
Right. It's funny. Like, a lot of the people that are listening to this probably never even like lived through buying CDs and listening to CDs straight through. You know, they've just been a product of Spotify or, you know, individual songs, and albums kind of fallen off where do you care about albums? I don't care about albums anymore.
I can't really think of, I mean, I probably can think of an album within the last 2 or 3 years where I'm like, wow, the format of that album sucked. Like, whoever laid this out was terrible, you know? And it mattered back then, the flow of an album. We were even talking about it with like The Chronic was so front heavy, whether that was on purpose or not. I think maybe that benefited that album, where that was so front heavy. The first, like the 4 to the first 5 songs are absolute banger classics. And then the next like 11 are meh, whatever. That, you know, I might get shit for that, but.
Well, yeah, we brought up The Chronic, and you and I both were like, well, I think I like Chronic 2001 better anyway.
Right. 2001 what was front to back better, you know? So albums do take on this stigma of that's one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, but they need to age well, number one. Because if it doesn't age well, then like, you know, it doesn't matter how good it was for the time, right? It's just going to kind of get swept under the rug. Like, that's the great thing. And to just kind of go off a little bit on attention, that's a great thing about house music. Like, I feel like that is one genre that just doesn't age, you know? And that's the benefit of that. We can play tracks from '05 and tracks from '98 and it's fine. Whereas like you play a 1989 hip hop track like a Big Daddy Kane and you're like, that's from 1989. Like you can point it out in a second. But there are certain things that have aged well. I think the DMX album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, is so unique into itself that there is no aging process on it, right? Because nobody ever really came out with something after that sounded like it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shout out to Swiss Beats and the people that were involved in that. And obviously that was the start of Swiss Beats.
Right. And that's what I was going to say is like me being being into the producer and the beats and the production side, that's what I was going to say is like, this kind of brought Swiss Beats to the forefront where he's now starting to produce records for other people's albums and like coming out with his own album and getting super popular. And I think he was a big factor for shaping a lot of DMX's stuff, right?
1,000%. The ironic part of this is that we spoke about him like taking over the puffy phase that we were going through and the pop phase. Well, the first time I heard Swiss Beats was on a puffy record. Like it was on Money Power Respect album, the Locks album, track 17. I don't remember the name of the track, but he produced it and it had like a beeper sound. It was like his sample on it and it was super dope. And that was the first Swiss Beats track that I heard. But then he came completely different on It's Dark and Hell is Hot and produced some really dope stuff.
Man, so R.I.P. DMX.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that he got like his due from the younger community after this. And that like, cause he was coming out with a record that day or within the last week or two. And that, what was going to happen to that? Nobody was going to listen to it. Nobody was ever going to play it. But if it opens the eyes of some younger DJs and gets more DMX in their catalog, then that's great.
Yeah, I would say if you're a new DJ, go listen to It's Dark and Hell is Hot straight through. Go listen to the first Ruff Ryders compilation album.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Do that. Do it as a favor to yourself. Check it out. Do some homework.
Yep. Because there's plenty of stuff on those.
Yeah, just see what you pull out of there that you like or that you hate. So,
yeah, man.
So something else that we've been talking about with the way Jersey nightlife has been is a lot of younger DJs that are kind of seeing some success, right?
Right.
I think what a lot of venues have been doing is, they opened up, they found some younger DJs that might take a little less money and just be able to play. And both the venue and the DJs have kind of come up a little bit where now that the things are better and they're still playing at these venues, they have some experience, they've kind of learned how to play the room. They've learned how to program the room and they're doing pretty well, right? Money's starting to come up a little bit. But I think something that you and I see a lot are young DJs who are talented and smart and good at what they do, but they just want to like move too quickly. I think I did the same thing when I was coming up too, It's
that's just the natural progression of it, right? You gain a little success and success is dependent upon who you're talking to, it measures differently, right? So you gain a little success and all of a sudden you want to, take that next leap instead of just kind of like the next step, and you need to keep in mind that, you look at us, like these are, you can have a very long career if you play your cards right. And not to say that you have to take it incrementally and take your time doing it, but you have to go about things the right way. You can't step on toes. You can't ruffle feathers, whatever, analogy you want to use. You need to be calculated and you need to be patient and you need to know, I hate to say this, but you need to know your role. You know, you have to know where you stand within the DJ community within your market first.
Right.
And then you can kind of assess where you're at and then take the next step. You got to remember you're not owed shit, right? If you're in
Yeah.
like your first year in venues or your first 2 years in venues, you ain't owed shit. You haven't paid your dues, and you have to pay your dues along the way. And if it's, you know, if it's taking $50 less at a gig, then you do that to establish a relationship and to start a relationship. If you have to, you know, pay for a couple Coronas, then you got to pay for a couple Coronas. Like I still pay for drinks in some venues. Do I want to? Do I bitch about it to you? 1,000% I do. Right? I'm not happy about it.
I'll be the first one too. Can you believe this fucking guy made me pay for a drink? I haven't paid for a drink in nightlife in 8 years.
Who the fuck are you anyways? But no, but it's true though. And you have to be patient. You have to understand that, like, listen, as much as we preach that you're a business, these places are businesses too. And you're drinking their profits, you know, or whatever it might be, whatever, you know, we all nitpick about something. Always, no matter what venue it is, no matter how big or small, we're all nitpicky about and think we're owed more. And I think it's not taught to people that are on the come up. Be like, hey, just be a little patient. Like, and it's going to happen in year 1 and it's going to happen in year 20, you know?
Yeah.
And just know that, like, you can't get super upset about it. You can bitch and complain, but you can't be upset.
Yeah, I think back to when I was first starting to see some success as an opener and then getting my opportunity to headline. And like, I definitely thought I was somebody. Like, I'm like, you know, playing one room in Hoboken that's reasonably known. And I like thought I was something, the shit or something. I don't know. I think that's partly what made me good, because I had a confidence about me and a somewhat of a swagger that, like, I'm going to go into a room and I'm going to be the best DJ, or I'm going to like make the crowd dance or go crazy or whatever. I think that's part of success. But I think as older DJs now, it's also partly our job to like just bring people back down. And listen, like, we do it to Angelo, and like Angelo is our guy. Like,
right.
Angelo, the kid's like moving really quickly. And sometimes we just say to him, like, dude, listen, like, just in certain situations, you just got to take your lumps. Like, it's going to be worth it in the long run. Like, it is what it is. Just deal with it, or just don't say something.
Right.
And
that's
I think
the part.
Yeah, that's the part. I think you can feel a certain type of way, but I think just kind of keep it to yourself, or talk to it with your mentors or with your DJ friends and kind of get a second opinion, you know? The
disadvantage that young DJs have now is the access to millions of people instantly, right? That's an advantage in promoting yourself and getting your name out there and getting your music out there, etc. The disadvantage is that you had a couple shots, some bar owner pissed you off, and then you jumped on your story and you wrote something.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where, I'm not pointing anybody out here that's ever done that, but just a heads up, like, you know, you got to really be careful and not burn any bridges, especially early. You should never burn a bridge. I don't care how long you've been in the industry. I don't care if you don't even DJ anymore and you're just going out. Like, there's just, burning a bridge is just not, it's just not smart to any degree, because you just don't know what life's going to bring you at the end of the day, you know, like when you're going to need a favor, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. You have to be careful about what you put out on social. You have to be careful also who you talk to, and like who you're going to, you know, if you don't want to talk shit about the wrong people, you know, and that's because you don't know if you're talking shit to somebody's best friend or somebody's, you know.
I yell at DJs when they start talking shit sometimes, because I'm like, yo, like, all right, I get it. Like, chill, you know?
Yeah.
Because if they're talking shit to me about somebody, maybe they're talking shit about me to somebody also.
1,000%. That's always the case. And that's why I think that, you know, it's important to not put your shit out there like that. Like, don't put your grievances out there. It's not.
There's been how many times over the last 3 or 4 years have you and I had an issue with a venue, or a DJ did something or whatever? And like, we've never, not once, I don't think, ever put it out publicly as far as somebody crossing a line in some way. And I can think of a handful right now that I would love to talk shit and put out there and blow up, but I won't.
I did one.
Yeah, I probably yelled at you for it too, right?
Yeah, probably. But it was one.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a venue or anything like that.
I think I remember who it was.
It was a personal family matter thing too.
Right.
So anyway, but outside of that, yeah, don't do it because it's stupid. Because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. It's never worth it, and you're gonna wind up growing as a person, especially when you're younger. Like, all this matters so much, and then you get older and you're like, this is just so fucking dumb.
Yeah,
that made no sense to be, to burn that bridge and to be that dickish about it, because you could have just handled it like an adult and been like, put your nose up, fucking move along.
It's funny because like other DJs who I've known for a really long time will be like, yo, listen, now this is rare. Occasionally this happens, but recently this happened where a DJ who we've worked with for a long time is very successful was like, yo, I had this other DJ with me and they were talking shit about Get Down. And I was like, what? Talking shit? I'm like, why? What did we do? And like, it just was very funny to me. Like, why would that DJ talk shit? Because I'm gonna find out.
Right.
What do you like? I don't know. They're gonna tell me.
Right. But what are you gaining from it?
Yeah, nothing. If nothing, you're hurting yourself, because I will never book you. And I will make sure if someone else tries to book you,
that you don't get booked.
That you don't get booked. That's how I'll get back.
Right.
I'll never say one word, but behind the scenes, I will be making sure that if there's an opportunity that you may have been able to get, I'm going to shut it down or give my opinion against it and why.
Like I said, what are you gaining from it? What are you gaining from talking shit about somebody? In any part of life, you're doing nothing but wasting your time. Why? Because like you really felt the need to be like, Get Down DJ groups, a bunch of fucking assholes. They think who they are.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yada, yada. Like, I don't know. And that's fine. Listen, if you don't like us, we're okay with that. That's fine. You're probably not listening to this right now. But, but
yeah, probably not.
That's fine. I don't care. Like, you don't have, it's unnatural to be liked by everybody.
No, there's going to be people that don't like you or talk shit about you or whatever.
Fine. Because you know what? We're going to go about our business the way that we want to handle it. And that's why it's our business, right? Like if you want to handle your business a certain way, then have your own business to do that. That's
the advantage that we've created with Get Down is we can surround ourselves with the people that we want to surround us with. Like the people that are doing all the things that we would hope a younger DJ is doing or that we align with. And like, and I'm not going to get into like our values or whatever, but that's the advantage that we have.
I think that's what most DJ crews do, like you surround yourself with like-minded people. Like our DJs are just people that we would hang out with that are good DJs.
Right. Or that we help make good DJs, like either that we see an opportunity, we can help them get better kind of thing.
Right. So, so just a little tidbit, guys, just don't talk shit about people. You're not getting anywhere doing it. It just doesn't make sense, and like I said, nobody's ever going to like you. Not every single person's not going to like you, just like every single person in a club's not going to like the way you DJ.
Right.
Whether you're A-Track or you're DJ Cream, like, I don't care who it is. Not every person, there's going to be a hater in the club 1,000% and 100% of the time. So like, if you're going to get your feelings hurt because somebody doesn't like you, like, this isn't the industry for you, And then if somebody wants to part ways with you, whether it be a bar or a nightclub or a DJ group, and you're going to go and like talk shit behind their back, like, then the industry is not for you.
Yeah.
You don't have the backbone for it. So get out of the way, So that's it.
That's funny. No, that's really good advice though. I'm glad we talked about that, because sometimes people let like emotion and anger get the best of them, and sometimes you gotta just put that away.
Yeah,
and move on.
we always say, and we're like the biggest proponents of, find your DJ friend to talk to, or find like who, your confidant to talk to, and bounce it off them, because having that other opinion is always huge.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So going to be a short episode today. We're going to cut it here. I'm going to bring this up because people hit us up all the time. Like, how do we get involved in Get Down? And how do we, I want a booking or whatever. The answer that Gary and I always say is come hang out, right? The best way for us to want to work with you is to get to know you and get to like you. This weekend, Sunday, me, Gary, Angelo the Kid, a lot of the Get Down DJs are going to be in the building. Slav's going to be in the building. My roommate, Justin Diamond, big promoters in the building. So make a reservation, come hang out Sunday, introduce yourself to us, or come hang with us. It's going to be a good time.
Do you have Slav's email address offhand?
I do not.
Don't mean to put you on the spot there. Sorry about that. It's actually, I think, slavgodin@gmail.com. I'm going to bring it up now.
slavgodin@godin@gmail.com.
You're right. So SLAVGODIN@gmail.com. That's how you're going to make your reservations to get in the building on Sunday, guys. So I hope to see you guys there. Cream hopes to see you there. It's going to be a great time. Looking forward to it.
Also, GDU will be closing enrollment this week. So if you're interested in GDU, links in description, links in bio on IG. We're giving away a free lesson. So if you want a free lesson, again, check the links, check the social medias.
Yep.
And that's it, man. Gary, I'm looking forward to hanging out in person this weekend. It's been a while.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
We might try to do a little live episode. We'll see. We'll see what we can come up with, guys, because we know the South Carolina episode was successful. It was a lot of fun. It was different. And,
yeah, we got a pretty jam-packed weekend, but we'll see if we can make something work. I don't know. Maybe we'll try to live stream from Wicked Wolf or something like that. We'll figure it out.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
Peace out.
Peace.